Jim Harbaugh is officially going to LA and he's going to be the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. What is that going to mean for the Chargers? Will they be the favorite to be the AFC West winners next coming season? Who's going to be the general manager? Is that going to be a big time factor for the Chargers? Find out in the next edition of Sideline Sports Podcast. Welcome to Sideline Sports Podcast. If you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast. What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another installment of Sideline Sports Podcast. I am the host, Alex Naveja, and if you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast. If you guys are liking the content we're throwing out there in social media, please give it a follow on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, and on X. We're going to have some interviews or an interview to come up for interviews under the lights tomorrow for that Nike extravaganza going down over there at Modern Day High School in Santa Ana, California. So be on the lookout for an interview to be going down later on that night. And while you're down there, hit the thumbs up, comment down below your guys' thoughts on the whole Jim Harbaugh hiring for the Los Angeles Chargers. Is it a good move? Is it not so much of a good move? What benefits do you think it's going to make? Is it even going to give them any benefits? And of course, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. But without further ado, we've got to welcome him into the Sideline Sports Podcast family. He's making his Sideline Sports Podcast debut with us. He's with Locked On Chargers, and he goes by David Droegemeier. He's the man. He's the man for the network. David, thanks so much for jumping on the show, man. I really appreciate you for jumping on and talking a little bit of Jim Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers.
Absolutely. I am overjoyed. I appreciate the opportunity to join this prestigious fraternity of guests here on Sideline Sports. But yeah, it's a great day. It's a very exciting time. The Charger fan base is absolutely on fire right now, and it is all because of one man, and that is, of course, the new head coach, Jim Harbaugh.
Of course. I mean, you go on X, and when you go on Chargers Twitter, there's not one person that is just raving about this hiring of Jim Harbaugh. I mean, I think I saw on the Pat McAfee show that he said that no one has ever won a national championship game and then become an NFL head coach all in the same stint. Like, if you're Jim Harbaugh, you're living life right now.
Absolutely. I mean, hey, what better way to jump ship and leave your alma mater than to do exactly what you said you were going to do, which was restore your alma mater, Michigan, back to prominence and win them a national championship. You can't leave college football in any grander way than winning the title and then literally riding off into the sunset all the way to Los Angeles and then becoming the head coach of the Chargers, where he's going to have a lot of control, where he's going to be able to finish his other unfinished business, his other unfinished story. And that one, of course, is winning a Super Bowl in the NFL. So you better believe that was part of the motivation. And, you know, also, let's not forget, the quarterback in Los Angeles is Justin Herbert. And that was a massive reason why Jim Harbaugh chose to partner up with the Chargers for his return to the NFL.
Absolutely. I mean, he has experience in the NFL under his belt with his time with the San Francisco 49ers. And just you look at the experience he has in the NFL and just his overall coaching expertise. He is a winning coach. He doesn't know what it's like to be below 500. You look at his numbers of coaching with San Diego, with Stanford, with Michigan, with the 49ers. It's all been winning ways. And a lot of people are saying, oh, well, it's NCAA is not the same as NFL. Well, folks, he has experience in the NFL. Hello, look at your numbers. Check the numbers. He's been there before. So it's different.
It's not even just that. Look at where those franchises were before Jim Harbaugh got there. I think that's the biggest indication of his level of impact. And it's not just one place. It's not just one time. He did it at the University of San Diego. They were horrible before he got there. After he got there, championships at their level. Then he goes off to Stanford. Stanford was 1-11 before Jim Harbaugh got there. When he left, they were 12-1, and they were one of the most physically dominating teams in all of college football. Then he goes to the 49ers. The 49ers were 6-10 before they got there. Guess what happened after he got there? 3 straight NFC Championship game appearances and a Super Bowl appearance against his brother, which, of course, he lost to. But he still got there. That's what Jim Harbaugh does. He turns losers into winners. This is a culture changer. That is what Jim Harbaugh is. That is what he does. That is why the Chargers knew, after hiring 3 first-time head coaches that did not warrant the type of results that everyone was expecting, and kind of fed into the false narrative that the Chargers organization were cheap and did not want to spend money to get the big head coach. Well, guess what? They did. They busted out the Brinks trucks. They delivered it straight to Jim Harbaugh's address and gave him all the power and all the assurance that he wanted and needed to come back to the NFL and be comfortable that he's in a position to where he can sculpt and make this thing in his image and go out there and win, because that's all he does.
And I mean, just look at the resume. Just like you mentioned it. I mean, he has turned losing teams, losing universities into winners. And now the Chargers, it's their turn. They are a head coach away from being up there in the NFC West, if you ask
AFC,
me.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, pardon me, AFC West. I think that's all they were really needing. They just needed a good head coach that was going to lead them to that. And of course, there's some history between Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh in the past. They have had conversations, and Jim Harbaugh, he has labeled Herbert as, hey, he's an easy top 5 quarterback. And all of us, we agree. Absolutely. We just believe that he needs a leader that's going to lead him into the winning ways, to be able to mold him into an elite quarterback, to be up there with the Tom Brady's, the Aaron Rodgers, the Brett Favre's. And we needed somebody, a leader that's going to get them to that promised line and make the Chargers a very significant team. They've made playoff appearances, and now this time, hey, we're not just contested with the playoffs. We want to go to the conference championship game and possibly a Super Bowl, because again, like you said, Jim Harbaugh has some unfinished business.
Absolutely. And the Chargers, they really desperately needed the physicality and toughness that Jim Harbaugh's instilled in all of his football teams. The Chargers are quite frankly been pretty soft on both sides of the ball. All of Jim Harbaugh's teams are line of scrimmage teams. All of Jim Harbaugh's teams run the football whenever they want to, whether they are behind in the game, ahead of the game. They dominate with the running game. They impose their will. They beat the hell out of their opponents. Quite frankly, that's exactly what they want to do. And that's what the Chargers need. That's what Justin Herbert needs, because he needs a running game that can take some pressure off of his right arm, so he doesn't feel like he has to be compelled to be Superman, have to put on the cape and rescue the Chargers from the bad situations that they've been in. And that's going to also permeate on defense as well, because you watch a Jim Harbaugh-led defense, they're fast, they're physical, they swarm around. And don't be surprised if Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator from Michigan, accompanies Jim Harbaugh to the NFL. I think that is a very likely move. That's one of the things that'll probably be coming down the pipeline here soon. But that physicality, that dominating running game is going to take some pressure off of Justin Herbert, maybe reduce some of the stats, but increase the W's. And I think Justin Herbert will take that trade-off every day of the week.
Absolutely. And you know what? The past couple of years since Justin Herbert has been in the NFL, everyone's just kind of scratching their head. This is, like we mentioned, a top 5 quarterback in the league. How is he not producing? How are they not winning games? How are they not producing W's?
Bottom 5 defense. That's why.
Bottom 5 defense, absolutely. And I just feel like in the last couple moments of the games, they just weren't able to, 1, close down the games, and 2, hang on to a lead or even come from behind.
Protect. That's the other issue. I mean, this past year, it was their inability to protect in those crucial moments, in those opportunities where they had plenty. to go down the field and win the football game. They were unable to pass protect in those crucial moments, and that's really what lost them the majority of their football games. And so that's another thing that has to get corrected as we move forward into the Jim Harbaugh era.
And you're talking about, hey, what else needs to be done for the Chargers? I mean, I think the next move is who's going to be the man, talking about the GM of the Los Angeles Chargers. And I think Jim Harbaugh, he's going to have a lot to say in who it's going to be. So he can be like, hey, I want you to bring me these players, or these are the picks that we're going to be addressing. We need to address these positions for when the draft comes in. But I know you have more insight on the general manager hunt and how Jim Harbaugh is definitely going to have a big say and a big role in who's going to be taking up that helm.
That's absolutely correct. Yeah, Jim Harbaugh came to the Chargers, and part of that negotiation was with the understanding that Jim Harbaugh was going to have a large part of control on the personnel and who they bring in, and approving and disapproving of who they bring in. And so that's probably why they hired Jim Harbaugh first. And now they want Jim Harbaugh in on that general manager search, because what really caused Jim Harbaugh to exit the NFL and go to Michigan was the disagreements that he had with the current 49ers general manager, Trent Baalke, at the time. And that disagreement, that, uncohesion is what led to that exit. And so I think Jim Harbaugh said, we're not going to run into that this time around. We're going to bring in guys that know me, that I know, that I'm comfortable with, that I can work with, because I want to be here for the long haul. So there's two guys so far that have been given second interviews by the Chargers. The first is Brandon Brown, who's the assistant general manager of the New York Giants. This guy is incredibly brilliant. He's very young. He's 35 years old, and he has skyrocketed up the ladder in the front offices in the NFL. It's been unbelievable what he's been able to do in such a short time. And then you have Joe Hortiz, which is also an assistant general manager for the Baltimore Ravens, a guy who has worked for the Ravens for 26 years, a very, very long time. And of course, works with who? Jim Harbaugh's brother, John Harbaugh. So obviously these guys are cut from the same cloth, the same type of physically demanding and dominating players that the Ravens have brought in, both on the offense and defensive side, are going to be the type of players that Jim Harbaugh is going to be looking for in his team and how to build his franchise. So I think that's something that makes a lot of sense. There also is a pre-established relationship between Joe Hortiz and Jim Harbaugh. They've communicated on prospects to help kind of, give some information to his brother on which guys to pick, because, he's been there and he's scouted all of those guys. So I think that's a natural pairing. I think that's something, and there's reports out there that he may be the favorite. So it's possible that, in the coming days that it could be Brendan Brown, but I think more than likely it'll be Joe Hortiz from the Ravens.
I could definitely imagine if they do get Joe Hortiz, it's going to be a little bit of an awkward family dinner if you invite him over and you say, "Hey, John, sorry, I'm
well, John was John was the one that was advocating for him. He was like, "Hey, just so you know, Joe Hortiz was the guy who gave us the write-up on Roquan Smith and gave us the information that told us to go get the guy." So he said that. So he's kind of basically, doing him a favor, trying to get him the job over there. So I don't know. It'll be an interesting dynamic though, no matter what.
I'll give you the information, but I'll tell you what, like, to get to the Super Bowl, no, you got to get to me
exactly.
First. No. We can meet at the
AFC. That's where it stops right there.
Yeah, then we're going to see, hey, you can have Joe Hortiz, but guess what? I still have the team. You still got to go through my Ravens just to get to the Super Bowl for sure.
That's right.
And I know once that's done, I know there's been a lot of chatter as far as what would be next after that. And I know the Chargers, they want to get down on that luxury tax. There's a lot of guys that they owe a lot of money to. I know Bosa's a big guy. I know Mack is a guy that they owe a lot of money to. What would you think would be like the ideal offseason for the Chargers to get back into that winning ways? And hey, we gotta surpass the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to make some cuts for sure. I mean, at this point in time, they're about $45 million over the cap, but Corey Linsley, the center, is probably going to retire. Unfortunately, he has a heart condition that prevented him from playing the majority of this season. And so I think that is going to force him to retire. So that means that the Chargers are going to save about $9 million in cap space from that move alone. And then it's decision time. There's 4 players that have a cap hit of $35 million or more for the Chargers. That is Khalil Mack, that is Joey Bosa, Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams. So I'm going to say right now that 2 of those 4 players will be cut or traded in this offseason. And that's pretty much just what needs to happen. I also think Eric Kendricks is an obvious cut candidate. That's something place where they can, also gain some additional cap space. And, there's going to be a lot of moves anyway, because this roster has to be remolded, reconfigured, and retooled in the image of Jim Harbaugh and the way that he wants this offense, this defense, this team to play. So there's going to be changes that are going to be made anyway. And it might be a little bit tough, on decisions that they have to make. But in 2025, they have a clean cap sheet. So they're going to have a lot more cap space and room to move, to sign free agents. This offseason, it's going to be about making some moves to get their head above water and then focusing on finding impact talent throughout the draft. And fortunately for the Chargers, they have a top 5 pick in every single round of the draft. And I think that's what people need to understand. It's not just a 5th overall pick. It's a top 5 pick in every round of the draft. And I think that's where the Chargers are going to have to focus on finding impact talent that can come in and make a splash right away, that can make an impact right away, because the Chargers are going to need it, because they're just going to be strapped for cash.
Absolutely. And I mean, I feel like maybe Jim is going to want to look into the Michigan roster who's enrolling in the draft and maybe get some guys. Hey, I'm already familiar with you guys, and I want to bring you into the NFL and maybe mold you guys into NFL players. But a quick breakdown. What would you like to see the Chargers really establish in this in the draft? Maybe would you want some more protection for Justin Herbert? They have done that in the past. They've addressed additional protection for Herbert because unfortunately he did go down in the injury list. And what would you think?
Yeah. So as far as like early in the draft, I mean, if they have an opportunity to pair him with a once in a lifetime, a generational type of playmaker, that's definitely something I would be interested in, because I still don't think we've seen the best of Justin Herbert. We have not seen the most that he is capable of doing, because he hasn't been put in the position to be able to do so. So if they have an option to get a Dunze, or if they have an option to get a Malik Neighbors, a guy who is, a straight separator, a guy who's a demon, a guy that gets open and is a touchdown waiting to happen. Or, maybe they trade back and they go get a Brock Bowers and they pick up an extra pick. There's a lot of things that the Chargers need to address, but things that need to happen right away. They need to get a weapon for Justin Herbert, whether it's receiver or tight end. They need to get a center. That has to happen because, like I said, they're all pro center. Corey Linsley is probably going to retire this offseason. They need to get bigger and tougher on the offense and defensive line, and they need to go get a corner. I think, and probably a pass rusher as well, because one of their 2 big edge rushers is going to get either dealt or cut this offseason. So those are probably going to be the focuses. Also, don't be surprised if there's a running back thrown in there as well. Jim Harbaugh is definitely a guy who loves to run the football. He likes a bigger, more physical back. And I think this running back room for the Chargers is going to look vastly different. Austin Eckler is a free agent. He's going to be gone. Josh Kelly is a free agent. He could be gone. The only guy under contract next year for the Chargers at the running back position is Isaiah Spiller. So there's going to be some new blood there. There's going to be a whole new room. All of those decisions are going to have to be made. I would expect most of them to be addressed in the draft.
Well, there you have it, guys. Chargers making some moves already. We're still in the NFL playoffs going on here. Who's going to be going to the Super Bowl? But the Chargers, they mean business. They want to win, being in the Los Angeles market, making the big moves because, everybody, they know the Rams are there. But guess what? No. You need to put some respect on the name on the Chargers because we have Justin Herbert and we have the whole entire team that's coming in. And, hey, we're going to fill up the house here at SoFi Stadium and make some moves. But that's all the time we have left here on Sideline Sports Podcast. We thank you all so much for joining us in here into this one. If you guys like the episode, please give it a thumbs up, Also, comment down below what you guys think about this whole entire move. Comment down your predictions. I want to hear all about it. I know David wants to hear all about it. And we're all ears as far as the excitement that's going down here in LA, getting an iconic coach like Jim Harbaugh here in the city of LA. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell while you're at it. And again, that was David Droegemeier that was here with us in Locked On Chargers, breaking down the whole Jim Harbaugh move and some of the moves that need to go down in the offseason. But David, thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate it, man. I had a good time talking some Chargers football.
Hey man, thank you so much. And for anybody out there that wants to check out the podcast, it's the Locked On Chargers podcast. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, TuneIn, anywhere. We're on the Odyssey app. We are all over the place. Please check us out. We do podcasts 5 days a week on the Chargers year round, not just in the football season, all year round. So please come check us out. We would really appreciate the support.
Hey guys, that's almost every day of the week. I mean, you get 2 days off, but guess what? Almost every day you can hear about the Chargers on Locked On Chargers. I'll put David's social media handles down in the description below so you guys can follow him, so you guys can stay up to date with everything Chargers football. But I'm Alex Naveja from Sideline Sports Podcast saying if you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast. Have a good one, everybody, and enjoy the NFL championship games.